But figure you can go ahead and start talking about growing up atheist.
Okay. I was hesitant to use this topic today. In fact, this is by request. I want you to know, because I talked about being an atheist parent one time before on the show, and I got email recently saying that we'd like to hear what it's like to actually grow up as an atheist, which I guess makes me reflect that my experiences aren't all that typical. I mean, I guess your experiences aren't all that typical either, because you were actually studying to be a minister, as you remind us frequently. But I guess, most people don't grow up atheist. They grow up under some kind of religion and have some kind of getting away story.
Yeah.
And I don't have that, which is why I've always thought my kind of story is boring. So that's why I couldn't really decide whether to bring this up or not. I mean, I like hearing the stories about how people had their own religious upbringing and how they figured out that it wasn't true. I mean, that seems like kind of an interesting mental change. That's the kind of thing that great dramas are made of. Whereas me, I was raised by two atheist parents, and not only atheist, but Jewish atheist, and not only Jewish atheist, but in many cases loudmouth, outspoken atheists. And I guess that's a pretty different experience than most people have. And I guess one of the ways that this crops up is that people ask, well, how could you possibly be moral or feel that your life has any meaning when you're an atheist? And I'm not sure I can explain how, but I can definitely point out I never, growing up atheist, particularly felt like that was a problem, Anyway, my parents are both scientists. I was born in Princeton, New Jersey, and I kind of always assumed that both of them were atheists, although later in life I've discovered that my mother is sort of a generic theist, new agey type person, and my sister has been sending me photographs recently, and I found out that my parents were great big hippies also. At least that's what they look like in the pictures. But they both have physics degrees. They're both very intelligent and rational people. And above all, I'd say that my atheism was influenced more by my father than by my mother. My father actually comes from a long line of atheists. As far as I know, my great-grandfather, who I never met, was himself an atheist, and according to family history, when he died, most people are on their deathbed reading the Bible and trying to get a last-minute cram session in, right? He was supposedly reading Bertrand Russell. You'll notice my name is Russell, and that's not an accident. I don't think it's related to what my great-grandfather was reading, but my father was always very enthusiastic about Bertrand Russell. I've gone back and read a lot of his stuff, and I thought, yep, good choice for a name.
Did you thank him for not naming you Bertrand?
Yes, I appreciate that. Or Bert. I don't think I would have liked to be Bert.
Hey, it's Bert Glasser.
Right.
Yeah, Bert Glasser.
Speaking of long generations of atheists, if you hear noises in the studio today, it's because my 5-year-old son is here for the first time. Ben is here. I asked him to be quiet, but he's 5, and that's okay. Hey, Ben.
Say hi, Ben.
Hi.
You probably
Hi.
can't pick him up because these are directional microphones. But anyway, like I said, this is an experiment today to see if he's cool with being in the studio. And so far, pretty good, except for walking under the camera. Let's see, where was I?
You were talking about how you got named.
Right. Let's see. So I never, and also Ben, we never grew up learning that there was any kind of God. And I didn't realize that this would be a problem for people later in life. I guess I should go into my mother a little bit because she's the part from which I get the actual Jewish identity. I mean, my father is nominally Jewish, and people are always confused when I say I'm a Jewish atheist. Jewish is as much sort of a legacy or even sort of a racial trait as it is a religion. And some Jews take it more seriously than others. My mother's side of the family takes Judaism pretty seriously, and my mother tried to get me involved in a lot of that stuff. We had, for a while, Sabbath dinners where we would light candles and break bread and drink wine and grape juice, depending on your age. And I went through the process of getting bar mitzvahed, went to temple a lot, went to a Jewish summer camp. And so, and yet it didn't really work. I mean, I got older, tried to hold on to my Jewish identity, but you'll often hear me say, I'm a bad Jew. I read about Jewish culture stuff somewhat, but I don't still go to temple. I tried a couple of times, and I find that, they just talk about God too much. So, sorry, Mom. Anyway, I was about 5 when we moved to the heart of the Bible Belt. I lived in Auburn, Alabama from the ages of 5 to 10, and you'll notice that's great timing because that's just when kids enter kindergarten and start to interact with other kids more and learn that, there's a little bit of a problem when you say there's no God. My dad actually warned me about this. He said, look, you're going to start going to school. I mean, I was 5. I don't really remember this conversation that well, but he tells me, he said you should be careful of telling people that you don't think there's a God. And I didn't listen to him. I mean, I guess I did for a while, but I did wind up blabbing that I was an atheist, and people would ask, what does that mean? And I said, I don't believe in God. And so it's weird. I think my parents were worried that I was going to get beaten up, but I didn't. I mean, you have to understand, and maybe a lot of you theists watching will relate to this. When you see an atheist for the first time, or you hear what an atheist is, you say something like, there is no God? What does that mean? I don't understand. I mean, it's like saying your father doesn't exist, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that's kind of close.
Right. I mean, it's like denying something that you've assumed and been told is true from the earliest days of your life. And certainly that was the case with some of the kids that I went to school with. I don't remember a lot about being a kindergarten atheist, but I do remember that there was a while when we'd be at in the front of the school. We go there every day waiting for our parents to pick us up, and some kids would come over, and one kid goes, watch this. Do you believe in God? And I'd say, no. He said, yeah, check that out. Isn't that weird? That was the reaction I got as a young atheist.
So they weren't, ready to string you up or anything. Because I think that's common among 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a caller on the line, and this is kind of related to school, so it'll help us kind of remember where we are.
Okay, sure.
But it's something that I think you'll probably want to comment on as well. So.
Right.